And then after distance, they swap. And then they swap again. So each person has the opportunity to ride and rest. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't go and take a horse for himself. I'm the Imam, I'm Rasulullah. I fly first class to the battle. He doesn't say, no, look, I'll take the camel and the rest of you walk. Like him, like others. So who's with the camel of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. And Zayd ibn Haritha. So Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Zayd ibn al-Haritha and Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in are sharing the camel. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is riding on the camel. And then he comes off. And then they say to him, Ya Rasulullah, how about you continue riding on the camel? You ride on the camel and we walk. They put forth Rasulullah, he's their priority, their preference. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks at them, Sayyidina Ali, Sayyidina Zayd. He says to them, he says, you are not stronger than me, such that you'll be able to withstand walking more than I would be. And you are in no more in need of the reward than I am. Meaning I'm as strong as you. So there's nothing to prevent me from walking. Plus, on top of that, the reward that you're going to gain from walking, I'm also in need of that reward and those good deeds. Who's saying this? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their master, their sayyid, their teacher, their murshid, their muallim. Even though all their reward is in the records and the scrolls of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he told them and he gave them iman, it's not enough for him because he was greedy for the reward. He wanted the good deeds. He could not be content in staying in one particular position. He wanted more qurb and nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a sign for us, O believers, that no matter how close you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's also some distance that you can approach Him even more. There's some nearness that you can gain even more. No matter how much you know of Allah and Iman and Ihsan, there's still more that you can gain. No matter how much you know of ilm and knowledge and sincerity, there's still more that you can gain. No matter how much assistance that you give to people of sadaqah and support, there's still more that you can gain. Why? Because the one who was given more was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, and say, oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Who was given all knowledge. So this was the hal of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on the way to Badr. And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, once they reach this area of Al-Buqa', he looks to his Sahaba, finding out who's amongst his ranks. And he sees some young Sahaba, some youth, in the younger years. He turns to Abdullah bin Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. At that point he was only 13 years old. He looks to him and he says, you can't come with us. You're still too young. He turns him back and he returns to Medina. In the next battle of Uhud, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar is haris. He doesn't give up. He turned me back from Badr, I'm going to go for Uhud. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam turns him back at 14 years of age. So, alongside Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar ibn al-Khattab, there were also other young people who had accompanied the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in order to meet the caravan of Abu Sufyan. Of these was Al-Bara ibn Azib and Umayr bin Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. Umayr bin Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas was 16 years old. So he wasn't as young as Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar. However, his body was small. So physically, he wasn't as big. And so the Prophet ﷺ, when he was talking to the young Sahaba and indicating to them that they're too young to have to turn back, this Sahabi Umayr radiyallahu anhu begins to weep. Begins to weep. How can I be turned back away from Rasulullah? How can I go back to Medina and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is out there seeking some closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to raid on a caravan and I can be in their support? sorrow and sadness begins to overtake him, and he starts to cry. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon seeing this, and his age being 16 years of age, he allows him to continue with them to Badr. And this Sahabi Umayr becomes one of the martyrs of Badr, one of the Shuhada. He cried because he knows this is his place of martyrdom, Shahada. He can't turn away from Jannah because he knows he's going to Jannah. Also, Sayyidina al-Haritha was also young, 14 years of age, was also martyred in the same battle. And the story of his mother upon the Prophet ﷺ returning to Medina, inshallah, which we'll mention at the conclusion. So in total, of the Sahaba that received their Shahada, their martyrdom in the Battle of Badr, were 14. 14 Sahaba reached Jannah through Badr immediately. 14. And there were some 300 in number. Out of all the battles that the Prophet ﷺ fought, the total number of those killed on the enemy side and on the side of the people of Iman, the scholars of Sirah say were no more than 500. So all those people that go out and say, Islam was spread by the sword, this man Muhammad went out and fought battles, month after month, week after week. Sometimes he would be in Medina for 2 weeks, and then he'd go out for another battle. He'd come back for 2 or 3 weeks, and go out for another battle. He wouldn't remain in Medina. And so they say, he was always out in battle and fighting, with the sword. And so 500 people, from the beginning of the permission of fighting the kuffar, until the end of the Prophet ﷺ's nubuwwah in Medina, no more than 500 people were killed. On both sides. How many people are killed in one bombing today? 500? 1,000? 10,000? 50,000? 100,000? In one bombing. In 10 years, no more than 500 were killed. So the Muslim needs to know his history, and needs to know what the Prophet ﷺ stood for and how he fought. So, in total now the Sahaba was some 300 odd in number. And the Prophet ﷺ arrives at a point and he asks the Sahaba to count them. He doesn't count. Ummi. So he asks the Sahaba to calculate. That calculator says about 300 of us. Ya Rasulullah. And he said this was the number in which Allah Ta'ala gave to Talut. He filtered them through out of having thousands, and he went and he fought the king amongst the people of the children of Israel, Bani Israel, and Allah Ta'ala gave him success. So the Prophet ﷺ could feel the victory coming along for them. And so in the meantime, Abu Sufyan was coming south from Syria. He was careful and cautious because he had some feeling, he had some news or some signal that Muhammad and his people may be on the lookout for him. And as he only had 40 or 50 or 60 or 80, as some of the Sirah scholars say, men with him of Quraysh to guard the 1,000 camels, the 50,000 dinars of merchandise coming from Syria. So he was fearful. So when he arrived to Badr, Abu Sufyan looks around to inquire, just on the outskirts. He looks around to see any signs. Has anyone come? Has anyone heard any news of Muhammad and his troops coming? And so one man tells him, yes, I did see 2 people. What were they doing? He says, they came to take some water from the well. They came to take some water. And so he went to that place, and Abu Sufyan, he looked around, and he looked to the ground, and he saw some fodder, some droppings of some camels. He looked at it, picked it up, placed it in his hand, and he saw some seeds. He said, oh, these seeds come none other than from the dates of Yathrib, from Medina. Someone from Medina has come from Yathrib. This is a sign. They knew, because in Mecca they didn't have this kind. They knew this was a sign that is from Yathrib. So now his anxiety begins to increase, Abu Sufyan. Muhammad and his troops are close by, I don't know where, but they've been here, and somehow they know what's going on. And so what does he do? He starts to redirect his caravan. Where initially their caravan usually passes close by Medina, now he goes out to the coast, out to Jeddah way. What do you call? Takes another route. So that he travels on the coast rather than, such that he is free from Muhammad and his people. And then, along his way, during this detour, Abu Sufyan sends a man of Quraysh that is with him by the name of Damdam ibn Amr al-Ghafari. He sends him to Mecca. Why? He sends him to Mecca to tell them that Muhammad and his people have come and attacked the caravan. So quickly come and send us assistance and support and help. And an army. But he's just fearful now. He's anxious. No one has come and attacked him.